Etepu, assalamu alaikum, namaste, huru nefer. This is Qesankh my Keparu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the Bible Secrets Revealed Patreon series I'm doing. But before I get into that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, hit the subscribe bell to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you want to know more about our spiritual teachings, you can scroll down below into the description box and click on one of the 4 ebooks. They're free. You can download them today, start reading. But however, if that's not enough, you can become a Patreon supporter, and you can do so for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. It's up to you. There's no obligation. You can, cut off at any time. You'll get exclusive access to, first and foremost, this exclusive series I'm doing, short series called Bible Secrets Revealed. You'll also get videos on how to meditate, how to astral project, how to create a magical amulet, how to do proper breathing exercises, all kinds of great things. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started. So Haru Nefer, Grand Rising. Hey, Claude, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. So I wanted to talk about the series I'm doing on Patreon. If you are a Patreon supporter, you'll have access to it. And it's called Bible Secrets Revealed, where I'm going to go in depth on where did the Bible get their stories? And that's what they are, stories, because the Bible is a aggregate of collected metaphors and myths that were taken out of history, especially Kemetic history, Egyptian history. And it is not, in fact, a history book. It is not the so-called Word of God or inspired Word of God. It was written by King James. This is there were many versions. There's like at least 100 versions of the Bible. The one that is practiced and become most popular today is the King James Version. And you have to remember, King James was a pedophile. So this is the Bible that you're reading. I am not trying to discourage you or vilify your religion. There are some really good things in the Bible because it is, I consider it like an occult book that gives you some really good insight as to spiritual teachings and things of that nature. But it is not a history book. And let's remember that. And because many in the Christian arena believe that the Bible, the earth is only 6,000 years old. The Bible documents that history. There were no dinosaurs, things of that nature. And, Adam and Eve were white. So all of this has to be dealt with. And unfortunately, many of the pimp pastors and the churches, especially the mega churches, are not dealing with it because they want to keep lying to their congregation so the congregation can keep tithing and they can keep paying off their luxury homes and vacation homes and private jets, things of that nature, because they're making bank off of poor people who are in very dire straits. And it's so sad that these older men and women who give money, their last dollar to these pimp pastors in hopes that God will bless them. God has already blessed you. God has blessed you by making you a God. And there's no need to give your last dime to these corrupt ministers. And I mean that sincerely. They are corrupt. They are not living righteously. Many of them are if you go behind the closed doors and see how they're really living, is based on materialism and wealth accumulation, which is the American way, So I want you to think about that, And we as Kemetic priests and priestesses or in priesthood, we have to start calling them out and not allowing them to get away with it, because they vilify ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. Talk about Ramses, how bad Egyptians were, how good Moses was, and then tell all these lies. So we have to, like slaves built the pyramids, and we've got to straighten this out, because these ministers won't do it. So that series that I'm doing is going to be on Patreon. You do have to be a Patreon supporter. As I said, you can be a supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. You can cancel anytime. So sign up now so you can get exclusive access to the first episode of that series. And you're going to be very surprised at how I trace these stories back to their origins. And again, as I talked about, there were many, many different books but the King James Version became the most popular version printed. So you wonder what the other versions, what they had in them and what they said, One of the forefathers of this was Dr. Ben Jamaikanen, who wrote extensively about the origins of the Bible and how many of its stories came out of ancient Egypt, Kemet, especially the story we know of Asar and Aset and Haru, the Holy Trinity, and things of that nature. But also, I wanted to wish you all a happy Halloween, which is my favorite season or holiday. Is it appropriate to say? And every year I talk about dressing up as something, and it just doesn't happen because I get so busy. And this year I was going to do Ghostbusters, but it didn't work out as I planned. So I don't think I'll have a costume today, but I still am going to go out and watch and just see the array of costumes here. People are dressing up, going to parties. So I'm going to go out and have some fun, even though I'm not in costume. But I did do something that was interesting. I think this was way back in February. I did order, because I do collect dummies, ventriloquist dummies. Is that the way to say it? Or just dummies in general. And I ordered one. It came rather quicker than I expected. When I opened the box, I was immediately taken aback because it caught me off guard. It scared me. And I had put it away. I said, I'm not going to look at this. I want to see this thing because I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night and hear pitter patter feet of this little guy running around. But he did scare me. I saw the picture of him online. I thought it'd be cute to order, but I had no idea that he would look so frightening. So I said, you know what? I'm going to pull this guy out during Halloween and maybe put it on my door. But then I thought, well, someone's going to steal him. And I said, well, that would be a good thing because I don't want him. But then again, I don't know how people will react to seeing it. It really probably could frighten them. So I wanted to reveal this little guy to you guys here to get your thoughts on if he's a little bit too frightening. And he came in this really nice box. And it was deceptive because it was very cheap. So I said, let me just get this thing here. All right. Hold on one second. Let me just pull him out. He's spooky, man. I just don't even like looking at him. Crap. I was pulling him and his head came off. So, okay, guy, don't lose your head. So there's some animatronics and things connected because he does some things. Yeah, he lost his head. I'm sorry, I pulled his head off. Okay, let me take a look. I want to present him properly so you guys can just get the effect. Now, again, he's been locked away in my closet since February because he's unnerving to me. Okay. I'll fix this head one day if necessary. All right, so isn't this guy a little freaky? A little scary. And he laughs. The eyes light up. And yeah, I don't know. It bugs me out, you know? Oh, yeah. Speaking of bugged, if you did not know, or, I don't know why, if you've been living under a rock, but many, many moons ago, back in 1996, I did a feature film called Bugged. It was a horror comedy that did really well in Japan, and it premiered at I think, the 1997 Cannes Film Festival. It was great. I got a chance to fly out there and just meet a bunch of stars. I had lunch, I believe it was. It was just me and Spike Lee at lunch. No one else. It was great. So that was awesome. Can you imagine that, just having lunch with Spike Lee, sitting at a table? And it was so like I was back then. Fix your tie, dude. Fix your tie. All right. Back then, I was all right. We're just sitting there, really shy. So I'm sitting at the table, and I didn't say much to him because I was too afraid to talk. But we did talk about my film. But one of the things that kind of piqued my interest, and I did talk to him about, was the lack of representation of African Americans at the Cannes Film Festival. Well, that's good. Oh, okay. Thank you. Maybe I'll post some more for you. Okay. um, I don't mean to embarrass you. I'm sorry if I did. Where am I going now? Oh, yeah. So the Cannes Film Festival. So if you are in the mood to laugh and be frightened at the same time, check out my ultra low budget film called Bud. The link is below. I'm not exactly sure where you can catch it. It was on cable. It premiered at the Prince Charles Theater in, I think it was London, England. They showed it in Japan. The Japanese love bugs, so I'm not really sure where you can catch it now. Because I'm going to be honest with you, when I think back to 1997, it was, to me, it's like, wow, I can't believe that so many years had passed. I think I was talking to a young girl, and this is back in maybe 2017, and I was talking about the I Love Lucy show. And she looked at me and she says, "Why do you talk about things that are before my generation? I don't know anything about what you're talking about. I Love Lucy. I don't know what that is." So she said it in a way to make me feel old. And I said, "Young lady, that show was before my time." I said, "So you need to get schooled on the classic shows like Lucy, Adam's Family. So she's just trying to make me feel old, but she is now just as old, or getting there. But yeah. So check out my film. You might like it. I could play the trailer, but I don't want to get a strike because I don't own the rights to the film anymore. I sold them outright in perpetuity. So check it out. The link is below. Oh, you know what? Forget that link is below. Let me see if I can put the link in the chat and see if that'll work. You guys see. Yeah, this is the only link, and maybe it will lead you to the movie, because I'm not sure if the movie you have to pay for the movie now, or what's the situation. But I often get people who see the movie and love it because it's so ultra low budget. It's just funny. We didn't have any money at the time, like zero, no money, and we just made this film. And I just said, okay, we're going to do one take, and that's it, and we're going to move on. And we actually rented this big house, and we all stayed at the house. I mean, the house was humongous, man. We all stayed at the house, and we just shot as much as we can. And there was this guy who came over, I believe, with was it him and his buddy? And they had a bunch of beer, and they wanted to give us some beer and watch the shooting. But it didn't turn out as they expected because they thought we were shooting a porn film. And I said, no, no, this is just a little budget horror film. You know, sorry to disappoint you. And they quickly left after that. They were really looking forward to something, you know. So we had a great time. And if you get the DVD to Bug, you'll find that there's you know, special treats there where I talk about the behind the scenes making of the film. And I'm not supposed to mention this and how the film was made into a bigger budget Hollywood film. And I think a lot of you will recognize the name of that film. I'm not going to mention the name, but it was made into Hollywood made a big budget version of that film. And if you get the DVD of that film, you will see the filmmaker talking about the inspiration for where he, you know, what he wanted to mirror, you know. Anyway, enough about that. So check it out. Be a fun Halloween treat for you and your friends. I remember somebody was, I always tell the story, we premiered it in LA at this theater, and there was a woman in the back who just couldn't stop. I think it was screaming. It scared her a bit, you know? And then she laughed, but rather loudly. So I turned to my friend, he's the co-star of the film, Jeff Lee, and I said, who's that woman back there yelling so loud? It's like ridiculous. He goes, oh, that's Angela Bassett. I said, that's Angela Bassett? I'm like, are you kidding me? He goes, oh yeah, she's a friend of mine. I invited her. I'm like, oh, okay. So after the premiere, I went to dinner with Angela, and she was super sweet, super nice. She was an awesome person, you know. This is about the time she did that movie about Tina Turner. I think it was What's Love Got to Do with It. So that was a little fun shock and surprise. And then other things happened. Disney called me, and Disney said they loved the film. They wanted to talk about remaking the film. So we flew and we did the pitch for Disney. And we also did a pitch for Paramount Pictures as well at the time. You know, Paramount had passed on it and stuff. I don't think Paramount was really serious about it, you know, but Disney was. Disney was very serious about it. But that was a different time. That was way back in 1997. So everything was shot on film back there, and there was no CGI. In fact, the film had one of the first CGI effects for a low budget film of that nature. So, you know, we did some pioneering back then, thanks to a great makeup artist named Angel Acevedo. He not only did the makeup, but he did this guy was fantastic, by the way. He did the CGI. In fact, I remember him calling me to his apartment, and he was showing me some of the makeup effects he was going to do for the film. And then he showed me this test of CGI, and I looked at it, and I was so amazed. I said, you have got to put this in Bugged. We've got to do this. You know, I said, we put this at the end of the film. This will be awesome. And back then, I'm telling you, computers were so slow. Like, he showed it to me the first time. When I asked to see it again, it took a while to like really set it up to get it to play again. Good times. Those were good times. We were experimenting. We were having fun. I was a novice. You know, looking back, I would have done things a lot differently. But hey, you know what? We did it. And I think that a lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it, but it makes an impact and an impression. I get letters all the time and emails where people are just telling me how they love the film and how they show it at their college. And I had no idea. You know, after the film was done, to be honest with you, I was like, I don't want to ever see this film again, because I hated the film. I absolutely hated it. And throughout the years, I saw how people's reaction was. I was getting calls. People were like, we love this film. It's so funny. And then when Disney called and Disney was like, we love the film, I was like, okay, maybe this is got something in it. And then I got an agent called me And I'm like, okay, I didn't know this film was making that much of an impact. I thought it was just like a bad film. In fact, I made another film after that, which was called, what's it called? War is a Bitch. It's all female film about heroic women in a time of war. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And something recently happened with that film that wasn't too cool. And I'm going to actually talk about that. And I need your support on this. But the reason why I made that film, one of the reasons why I made that film is because I didn't want bugged. Like, for example, if something happened to me and this was, that was my last day on earth, I didn't want to leave just having left bugged. So I said, I got to make something of a higher quality to show people, yeah, I really got talent. I really got talent, And lo and behold, people were like, well, Bug showed that you have talent. I said, really? You did? Okay. All right. Cool. So watch it. You'll enjoy it. You'll love it. It's funny. And it was a collaborative effort. One of the great people we worked with was Toriana Berry, DP, professor at the time at Howard University. He was great. I wish I could have appreciated him more by giving him more money, but we just had nothing. We had nothing, but we had a bunch of fun. And Trauma, thanks to Lloyd Kaufman, he saw something in the film, and him and his wife saw something in the film. I remember her saying, I saw the film and I just couldn't stop laughing. I laughed. So they saw something in the film enough to give us money to make the film and distribution. So that was great. I took a chance on that thing, And back then when you're making a film for under 100,000 on film itself, that's like ultra low budget, so that's ultra low budget, So anyway, the next thing is I am working on creating priesthood classes. In fact, they're already going on. And if you want to get into the priesthood and learn the Egyptian mystery system, learn more about spirituality and become closer to God or the gods, sign up for it. It's a great class, and I'm teaching a lot of stuff, specifically magic, because in this life, as people of color, we need magic to help us. Because unfortunately, we have a system that's hell-bent on rubbing us out, removing us from the planet. We have a system that openly knows that they have done wrong in the enslavement of African people. And instead of us giving us reparations to help us get ourselves together health-wise, politically, economically, instead of giving us reparations like they've given everybody else, they claim there's no money for it. But then when Israel's in trouble, they suddenly send $100 million over to Israel. Where did that money come from? Thought you guys had no money. It seems when everybody else has problems, they find money and they give them money. But when we have been talking about the injustice that has been done to us, oh, well, to give you guys reparations, we needed to do a study. And the current generation wasn't involved in that. So why should they have to pay for what their ancestors did? And it's all kinds of excuses. They know they owe us big time because we helped build this country. So many of you may know or may not know, in my former life, I was Benjamin Banneker, the great scientist, astronomer, mathematician. And if you research his story, my story, you'll see that he was instrumental in helping to map out Washington, D.C., so they could build the obelisk, the resurrected penis of Osiris. There are so many inventors, male and female, who created things that some got credit for what they have done, others haven't. And there were so many cities and towns that we created that were destroyed by white supremacists and the Klan, and that never got reparations. Where the US government took part in destroying Black families, destroying our communities. And we never got reparations. And the reason why we are not getting reparations is because they want to do everything they can to make sure that we don't survive, that we're not going to be here in the future. That's the reason. And if we don't get our act together and show as a group, as a collective force, they're not going to give it to us. As they did with Native Americans, Jewish people, Asian people, they've given them reparations. So what's the holdup on reparations for us? I want you to think about the birthing camps where they forced Black women to have babies by the slave masters, forced young men to have sex with their mothers, how they used young babies as crocodile bait, how they, and this is difficult to even talk about, they engaged in butt breaking to humiliate Black men in front of his family. And you think that you need to do a study to see if we deserve reparations? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But one aspect, I'm not blaming us, but we need to divorce ourselves from this religious institutions, from the religious institutions that are not doing anything for us anymore. They used to be very pivotal in the civil rights movement, but now they're not doing anything for us. In fact, many of our own people, as they would say, are cock blocking or thwarting our own progress. So those of us who are aware are going to have to collectively come together and do something. And what I mean by that is we're going to have to stop celebrating their religion and come back to our own religion, the Kemetic spiritual systems, the Ifa, the Santeria, Yoruba. Then we will get help from ancestors and spirits to combat them in a different way. Not by marching, not by a political affiliation, but in an entirely different way. By using the spirits, the ancestors, and the gods to intervene on our behalf. But we have to first divorce ourselves of these Christian churches, these Catholic. It is spread so far on the planet, it's sickening. And I'm not going to talk about the Nation of Islam. That's sickening itself. And what happened to Malcolm? So I want you to think about getting into our magic class. And from magic class, you get into priesthood. If you are tired of getting your butt kicked in life and you want to try and change things, let's turn to magic. So the best way to do it is to send me an email if you're interested and write why you think you should be in magic class, and then we will follow up. And in magic class, we are using magic to help each other. It's not just sitting there and listening to lectures or something like that. We're going to actively use magic to help each other's situation. So you just don't have to walk around and go, oh, well, this is my lot in life. My ship will never come in. No. Your ship is meant to come in, but not through a means of praying before a white Christian savior. And I don't mean to cast any negative aspersions against white people. That's not what I'm trying to say, because the oligarchy, the ruling elite, doesn't care about them as well. They're collateral damage. They will sacrifice them to reach their objective, which is total planet domination. And let me explain something, because if you look at social media and you observe it carefully, it was a very, very, how should I say it, subtle shift in what happened. Many people have seen it and noticed it, but didn't do anything about it. We went from positive rap and positive music to negativity and the worship of materialism, not just in rap, but as part of the American way. The worship of materialism and material acquisition. Something is wrong, because this came at us in a very subtle but cumulative manner. To 1 minute, we're okay with seeing stars and people acquire material things, and we not question it or say, hey, that's wrong values. Those are not good values to say that you want to get a Bugatti or, just it's just a Rolex just for the sake of having it. You know what I mean? Just for the sake of having it as some type of status symbol. Even the Bible preached against that. But yet somehow or another, our society is predicated on material acquisition as a way to demonstrate your worth. What happened to looking at a person's character and what they have done to make this a better world? What happened to that? You see, when you have your pimp pastors, ministers with private jets and 3 or 4 homes, then inevitably the congregation will want to mirror that. because they think it's okay and they think it's scriptural and they think it's spiritual. And there goes everything. By doing what these preachers have done, these pimp pastors, and trying to make it seem that God is okay with the enormous wealth they're stealing from their congregations. God is not okay with that. You are setting up society and contributing to society to value expensive material items above all else. That's what people have to get, to the point of young men and women don't want to work. They want to hustle. They want to do anything they can so they can get a gold chain, get this, get that. Even con one another, which is happening on the internet in these social spaces. Even con one another. But no one thinks about acquiring things righteously, because it's get rich or die trying. Get rich by any means necessary, even if you screw over your own people, even if you con people. Many of the Black YouTube influencers, if you've been paying attention, are in trouble now, because they're being exposed for the many cons they've perpetrated against their subscribers. Look at the Breakfast Club with DJ Envy. Look at Brother Polite. Look at Young Pharaoh. These people have only done what they saw the ministers do, the politicians do. When you're putting, and this is why I'm not a big fan of Andrew Tate, these people on pedestals, and these people are telling you, if you're not rich, you're stupid. What kind of message is that? What does that tell us? What about being kind, loving, caring? Ma'at. We've lost that. We've lost that. And you could be the vehicle by which God brings us back to what's important. And all you have to do is just to go back to your spiritual traditions that your ancestors laid out, because they worked. We built an empire off that, and we maintained it for thousands of years. It will collapse. This system, it will collapse. It's meant to collapse because that's what the oligarchy wants it to do. They've got their 150-year plan all laid out. And we're just following it. We're just going along with it. And they influence us through the media, and we just go along with it. And when I say to people, well, if you want to do that, have you gone to the oracles and asked God? People look at me like I'm crazy. I said, but that was our spiritual tradition. That's what we were supposed to do before we did anything. We consulted God on what, if God wanted us to do that. People look at me like I'm nuts. No, society is sick. Society is sick. I'm the voice of reason. I'm the voice of reason. You're being misled. You're being duped. Hey, Everett. You're being lied to. You're being bamboozled. And because it is a slow cumulative effect, you don't realize it. But then one day you wake up and all of a sudden, America falls. And you say, what happened? What happened? Our greed, our hatred, our anger, our envy has done us in. And Haruka Huti has come to bring it all down like the tower in the tarot. It's got to fall. Let's work together. Let's get back to our spiritual traditions. Use our magic to make this world a better place. It's so cliche, but it's so true. It's so true. We got to learn sometimes that protesting doesn't work. Marching doesn't work. But we should have learned that a long time ago. There will be casualties. Because they're not going to let up. They're not going to give in unless we stand up and demand it. Don't ask. And then we have to have some type of penalty if they don't give us what we want. See, when you are told to ride in the back of the bus and they refuse to grant you equality, you have to have a means and measure of demonstrating that, hey, if you don't give me what I want, then you're going to suffer a penalty. Like we're no longer going to ride the bus and the bus is going to lose money. But see, there's no teeth. I remember when I was working as a project manager at this one company, and my team was doing things they shouldn't be doing. So I wrote a memo that went out to them. And I showed it to one of my coworkers, and I said, what do you think about this? He says, well, it's good, but it has no teeth. I said, what do you mean by that? He says, there's no means of punishment if they don't follow the rules. And we have African Americans haven't learned that we will go and ask, but then we have no means to enforce it. That's why they don't give it to us. That's why they don't grant our demands and see eye to eye with us. Ma'at is nothing. Ma'at is the law. Ma'at is nothing without Haruka Huti to enforce that law. If you don't follow Ma'at's law, then Haruka Huti comes to cut heads. If you don't go to work, you don't get paid. If you don't stop at that red light, you get a ticket. If you're speeding, you get a ticket. So we have to stop looking at the people in power and asking and demanding and having teeth behind our demands, meaning have a means to punish them if they don't give us what we want. When we show that collective force and that measure of punishment, I guarantee you, it'll be a game changer. Things will change. And for the first time in this country's history of over 400 years, they will be afraid. They will be afraid. And they should be. Be afraid. Be very afraid. If you are in a business position to do so, please donate to the channel. Donate through PayPal. You can donate through CashApp. And I want you to have a great and happy Halloween. Go out there in your nice costumes and scare some people. This is Qesankh Ma Kefaru. Salam Ma Antuli. Ma is the beautiful goddess Hedaru. Until my next video, I'm in Ra.